Welcome to the Bernadette Jackson Podcast, where we are redefining how the world views women with daddy issues by discussing topics, sharing stories, and gaining insight, all from the perspective of a fatherless daughter. I'm your host, Bernadette, of BernadetteJackson.com. Today is the second to last episode of Season 1. I have been doing this now for quite a few months, and I've really been enjoying the podcast. I've been enjoying sharing the information that I have with you on how fatherlessness affects women. And in Season 2, I want to start getting into some topics that you want to hear about. So I am going to be putting a Google form on my linked tree in my IG page for you to write down some things you want to know, some topics you want to hear more about, some questions you have, and things like that, so that in Season 2 we can start tackling some things for you. But I wanted to come in and talk to you today about the difference between what's familiar to you and what you deserve. And I was thinking about this topic all day when I was trying to decide what it was I wanted to talk about for this episode. And the Holy Spirit just kept telling me that I needed to share this with you, because it was something that originally I was going to talk about it in a different way and on a different platform, but I just kept getting this nudge in my spirit that I needed to talk about it. So what I want to let you guys know about relationships in terms of how we choose partners and what we accept as fatherless daughters is that a lot of the patterns that we see in our relationships is what has always been familiar to us. So I will give you an example. If you have an absent father, you have already felt that your father has been emotionally unavailable to you, or has not been present, or that you don't feel chosen in your relationships in general and specifically by him. And so when you're choosing partners, if you're not aware that your father loss is something that can affect the types of partners you choose, you end up looking to be in relationship with people who mimic those same characteristics. And so when you're searching for partners, or when you're looking at a relationship that you're in, your mind is telling you that this person who is not always available to you, this person who has not made it clear to you where they stand with you, or how committed they are to you, or what their intentions are with you long term, that is normal, because that is what has always been seen. That's what you've been used to. It's what's familiar to you. And so when we start to think about what we deserve in relationships, we start to get really anxious and apprehensive, because a lot of us have internalized feelings of not being worthy, and not feeling like what we need and what we really want in relationships is important to the people that we love. And a lot of times we don't want to rock the boat at all, and we don't want to cause any unnecessary turmoil. And I'm putting this in air quotes because really that's nonsense. But this is how we think a lot of the times. We want to just make sure that everything is smooth sailing. We don't want to confront any issues, really. We just want things to be on an even keel, because we feel that so long as everything is easy for the person that we're with, that they're not going to leave us, that if we make it so that they don't have to do very much, and we're very low maintenance, and we don't ask for too much, and we don't make a fuss, and we don't stand up for ourselves, we don't hold our boundaries in place, all of these things, that they're going to think that, okay, I can do this, I can stay, because she isn't asking very much of me, she isn't requiring me to really step up to a standard. And I want to remind you that everything that is in your heart that you really want, and a lot of it has to do with being seen, being heard, being truly supported, being loved, feeling chosen, those things are important, and they deserve a voice. And as scary as it is, and as anxious as you may be to speak out loud what the desires of your heart really is, you're not going to see a change in your relationships until you do that. And it's going to be scary. It's going to be hard. And it's absolutely not something that is going to be familiar to you. But because I know that you really want to be in the types of relationships where you feel like you're nurtured, you feel like you can be your most authentic self, you feel like people really see you, you're going to have to let them know exactly what you need in order to feel those things. And you're really going to have to step outside of this thinking that you have that what you need in order to feel loved and the way in which you receive love is important. Because until that changes in your mind, you're going to continue to be in relationships that are familiar. And for you, relationships that are familiar are likely going to be the kinds of relationships that you don't want. Because a lot of it is going to mimic what you saw growing up. And what we saw growing up is that our father wasn't there for whatever reason. And so this new year that we're coming into, I want you to start to think about what it's going to look like if you decided to step into what you truly deserved versus what has been familiar to you. And just take some time, journal it out if you need to. Start thinking about what it is that you've been doing. What have you been accepting? Think about the partners that you've had in relationship. What patterns do you see there? What is it that you notice all of them have in common? What are the conversations or the arguments or the pet peeves that have been reoccurring for all of these people? Those are the kinds of questions that you should be asking yourself, because that's going to give you insight into the types of partners you choose and what has been familiar to you. And then when you have that written down, what you're going to do is you're going to take your pen, you're going to draw a line down the middle of the page, and you're going to write what the opposite of that thing is. So that could look like if you notice that the partners that you choose are typically nonchalant, about their feelings for you, and you are always unclear about where the relationship is, then on the other side of the list, where you're going to put the things that you deserve, you're going to write down that you're going to be looking for a partner that is very intentional about what he wants to do and where he wants to go and where he sees the relationship going with you. Okay, so that's an example of how you would create this list. Once you create this list, it's going to let you know, A, what your patterns have been, and B, what you can start to look for in future relationships. And this doesn't even have to be romantic relationships. It can be relationships at work, with your boss, with your coworkers. What do you continue to allow them to do or get away with? Are they always trying to give you additional work or putting things on your table that they should be doing because you don't say anything about it? It could be your family, your relationship with your mom, with your children, with your siblings, whoever. Think about this in your relationships in general. This is a really good exercise for your interactions, period. It will help you to see the way you have been operating in your relationships, what you've been accepting, and it will also show you what you truly deserve and what your heart's desire has been. And sometimes we don't even want to speak out loud what our heart's desire is because we're afraid to get it. But going into the new year, we need to start to do things a little bit differently if you want to see a different result. And so I just wanted to leave that with you because I believe with all of my heart that you deserve amazing relationships. And the only way you're going to get that is if you start operating differently. As scary as it is, as foreign as it's going to be, that's what you need to start doing in order for you to really see a change. Next week is going to be the last episode of the season, and it's going to be a fun one because it's going to be some commentary, just like last week's episode was. And in the new year, I'm going to be coming back with season 2. We have a lot of really great interviews that are going to be coming up, and I'm going to be doing some different series, and it's going to be some fun stuff. So I just want you to think about this going into the new year. I want you to really start to sit with this and marinate on it, because I would love for you to be able to one day tell me that, Bernadette, I heard your podcast and it helped me to figure out that I wanted to start to have amazing relationships, and I listened to what you said and I made this list, and it helped me to kind of gauge whether or not the person that I was with was really going to be able to show up for me in the way that I want. I really pray that that's going to be your testimony one day, and I can't wait to hear when you tell me about it. So I'm going to sign off. You will definitely hear from me next week. Again, that will be the last episode in season 1 and for this year. And if I don't see you on IG, if you don't pop into my DMs, then I want to wish you a happy new year, and I will definitely see you, or you'll hear me in the new year. So I'm going to be signing off, and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye.